All right, we should be live.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Citizens Participation Committee meeting. We are going to wait just a couple more minutes to see if some folks trickle in, as kind of tends to happen with these virtual meetings. So we'll get started in just a couple minutes. So in the meantime, we're glad to have everyone here who's here so far, and we'll just wait a couple more minutes and see if anyone else joins us. All right, we're just going to wait about another minute before I'll get started with taking roll. I see a couple more folks have joined us, so welcome everyone. We're just waiting just another minute for any stragglers, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the meeting. All right, I think we can go ahead and take roll call. So I'm going to start with myself, Tim Stroshine. I am here, and when I call your name, if you could just signal that you were here, that would be awesome. Aria Steiger.
Definitely here.
All right, great. Doug Pode.
Sure, I'm here, at least physically and mentally.
All right, that works for me. Maureen McNamara.
I'm here.
All right, great. Sally Fahey.
I'm here.
David Hiddle.
I'm here.
Jason Castillo.
I am right here.
Awesome. Jay Mitchell.
I'm here.
Great. Gene Croshen.
I'm here.
Roy Nunnally.
I am here.
Shannon Stannis.
I'm here.
Steve Clevenger.
I'm here.
Bill Arthur.
Here.
And Amy Kristen Preston.
Here.
All right, great. Did I miss anyone? That was all that I saw on my list, but I just wanted to make sure I'm not missing anyone. So if I missed you, please speak up now. Okay, I'm going to take that as we have everyone for the time being. If anyone joins in progress, then we'll get their name down for later. So for the meeting tonight, the bulk of it is going to consist of two presentations. The first one's going to be by Doug Pode from our staff regarding the Transportation Improvement Program. Doug will give a brief presentation, and then we'll have a question and answer session in which we will take questions both from the committee as well as from our online streams. So to anyone who is watching the stream right now, please feel free to type your comments in at any point during the presentation, and just know that we will get them all at the end. So if you don't get it answered right away, it's just because we're waiting until the end for Doug to finish presenting. And then we will do a similar thing. We have some of our partners from InDOT here who will give a presentation about what's happening on the state end. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug. So Doug, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Great pleasure to present to you a project that I've been working on. Started last October and have done some major changes or major improvements to it. And now we're to a point where I'd like to do a presentation on the actual document, or at least draft document. And that is the development of the Transportation Improvement Program for fiscal year 2022 to 2026. Now, when I talk fiscal year here, that is the state fiscal year. So fiscal year 2022 will begin this coming July 1st. The Transportation Improvement Program is a short-range 5-year plan that looks at all of the major projects which are federally funded that will be coming up. It is also a document in which we list also the major projects in which the following jurisdictions, whether it be Lafayette, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, the towns of Battleground, Dayton, Clarks Hill, and then of course City Bus, Purdue University Airport, and InDOT will use just their own funding, whether it be state funding or from local taxes. It's a good source to see what's coming up in Tippecanoe County road project, transit project, airport project wise. It's as good as having a magic 8-ball. So I advance to the next slide. Let me figure that one out. Okay. The requirement to develop this Transportation Improvement Program, likewise what the state will be presenting, the State Transportation Improvement Program, is a federal requirement and comes out of the what we call the FAST Act, or Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. And this was signed into law December 4th of 2015. It did expire on October 30th of 2020, but no worries, Congress did pass an extension for 1 year. So we're good until this coming October. And what I assume is that in the future, and maybe not this year, but even the next year, a new act will come forward. And if not, then additional extensions will occur. This has happened in the past for the previous transportation acts. Talk to you a little bit about local funding. We do receive federal funds for local road projects. What I show here is just for annual amounts. So we get these approximately every 5 years, and right now these are estimates. So there may be changes in the future. The main federal funding we do receive is what we call the Surface Transportation Block Group Program. Those can be used for a variety of different projects, road projects, widening, reconstruction, trails. It's open for quite a bit of different scopes. We receive a little over $4 million a year. The Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, like it said in the title, safety. These funds are specifically targeting safety improvements. We receive just a little over $575,000 each year. 164 penalty funds. These were originally the Surface Transportation Block Group funds, but since the state of Indiana does not have a specific legislation for repeating intoxicated drivers, we are penalized, and these funds are only to be used for safety projects. The next major funding category is transportation alternatives. which mainly we use these for trails, and it's a little over $200,000 each year. Now on the transit side, city bus, of course, these funds are only could be used by city bus. Section 5307, they receive just under $4 million each year. And this is the amount for their fiscal year 2020. Now they do receive what they call stick funds, and this 1.37 million is part of the $3.93 million. Stick funds are kind of like bonus funds. So if transit systems, especially small transit systems, do some performance and are above certain goals, they receive additional funds, and there's 6 of those. City bus is the #1 in the state in terms of actually doing the best. In 2019, they actually achieved 4 of the goals. And then in 2018 and 2020, they actually achieved 5. So because of that, they receive this $1.372 million. And again, the TIP is a great document in terms of it spells out exactly how our federal funds are allocated and what projects they go to, which I will get to here in a little bit. Going on, just kind of give you a brief timeline of the development process. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we had I started on this in October, and we had a call for projects on the 21st of October. That is where we asked our local engineers and other representatives from like the transit system and Purdue Airport to put together their list of projects that they want to include in this, especially those that they are seeking our federal gas tax funds for. Their deadline was December 4th, and good news is that we did receive all of those requests and project lists. After that, we put those together and introduced those on December 9th at our CPC meeting in December. And those lists can be and are still found on our web. Now, since that time, we went through a process of prioritizing and constraining our projects because we have a limited amount of federal funds. And that occurred on January 20th, and that occurred at our Technical Transportation Committee meeting. And that was open to the public, and at that time, it's a pretty interesting process, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Of course, tonight is our public hearing for this draft document. I should mention in between that time of January 20th and March 10th, InDOT asked that we submit to them the draft document, and that deadline was February 15th. The good news is that we actually submitted it on February 11th, so we did so before the deadline. And of course, the draft document is available online for anyone to look at. And if you'd like a paper copy, please let me know. I'd be more than glad to send you that. Now, after the public meeting, we do have some time yet for our public outreach and comments and questions. It's kind of an open time. So if there's any that we receive, especially from the Federal Highway Administration or the Federal Transit Administration, we can actually respond to those and then make adjustments to the document. And then we're looking at beginning the actual adoption process at our April Technical Transportation Committee meeting. And then hopefully, if everything goes right, have this document approved and wrapped up at the Policy Board meeting in May. So we've got a lot done, and I'd like to cover some highlights of it. Here's some important factors or parts of the document. Of course, if you look in the document, you will be able to read what was the public participation used in developing the report, not only before this public meeting and then afterwards. We do send out a lot of letters. We basically have 3 rounds of notices. We do post notices around the community at various locations like public libraries. We also target the Hispanic population and post notices in Spanish at specific locations like auto dealerships that are geared towards the Hispanic community, at one of the local grocery stores, and then also at one of the attorney's office. He is basically really into getting the word out. So we're doing an outreach specifically for them. And this year we also have several online announcements. We do post that on Facebook and Nextdoor. Anyway, the information can be found in the document early on pages 3 through 5. And then in addition to that, as we go through the process, all of the comments that we received and any responses that we give are actually documented and can be found in one of the appendixes. So any comments made tonight will actually be included in the document. So if you'd like your name to live on for many, many years, this would be a good time to add it. Another important part of the document is ADA review. Of course, in the report, we do report what are the most recent ADA transition plans for each of the local jurisdictions. And then when we do the call for projects, we ask each engineer to specifically tell us if the projects that they are proposing and going to be working on are ADA compliant. They must tell us that they are, and if they don't, well, that project will not be able to use our federal gas tax funds. Another big important part of developing this tip is environmental justice. We look at how these projects impact minorities and then also low-income persons. We have a process that's outlined, basically a macro process where we look at maps where there's areas where there are higher than average minority community locations, and then if the projects are close or are within those areas, then we do a micro analysis, which we look at 9 different aspects, such as displacement of residents, noise, air pollution, reduction of access, and isolation, and so forth. The project selection process and performance measures I'll get into a little bit. And then another important aspect of this is looking at red flag investigations. That is basically a first look, high level analysis of environmental issues that a project may encounter. Basically, if we find any, we report those to the local government jurisdiction, because if they do have more than what is suspected, that may add to the cost of constructing the project. Go on. Now, in terms of our local project selection, financially constraining, and then prioritization, we used a bunch of different information in doing this. First off, I have in the upper box here on the left, safety performance measures. Nationally, there are, I believe, 6 performance measures that we need to look at and we have to look at. And one of those, basically for us, is safety performance. Of course, this is pretty important, not only looking at fatalities and serious injuries, but looking at non-motorist fatalities and serious injuries as well. We also have our what I call local performance measures, and I have the table here on the upper right. Basically, we look at is if the project is in the long range, or what we call the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. If that project is in the financially constrained list in that plan, so it's a higher priority than others. If the project was previously programmed in the last or previous TIPs. If the project is moving or advancing, whether it be in preliminary engineering or in right-of-way. And then, does it include bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure? We specifically ask that when the local engineers submit their project requests, what are they going to be doing for this specific infrastructure? And then also, if it's complete street compliant. Back in 2012, when we adopted the long-range plan at that time, we also adopted a complete street policy, and that was adopted not only by the Area Plan Commission, but also by Tippecanoe County, the 2 cities, and the 3 towns. And we specifically look to make sure that the proposed projects do follow that policy. And of course, are the projects going to meet the ADA standards? And then access, is there access management involved? Then in the lower box, we do have some red flag analysis that we include. And then on the very bottom, something that we also adopted back in 2012. Our main STBG funding category is that we specifically want to set aside 10% of our funds for bicycle and pedestrian projects. And in developing not only this tip, but in previous tips since that policy was implemented, we have been successful and actually have used more than 10%, sometimes 15% or a pinch more. So good news in terms of moving those projects along. Now looking at the projects that we're requesting our local funds on the left, these are the projects that that the local engineers report or gave to us. In West Lafayette, the Sagamore Parkway Trail. This was actually a trail project that builds a new trail between the West Lafayette trails and then the eastbound bridge over the Wabash River. Eventually, the city of Lafayette will do the other side. So this will give a nice connection on the north side of the towns between each other. They are looking at ask for federal funds for the construction phase, and in fiscal year 2022. The county has requested funds for constructing Yeager Road and also for purchasing the additional land needed for Morehouse Road. And then West Lafayette is looking to start the Soldiers Home Road project. That's improving Soldiers Home Road, basically from Sagamore Parkway up to Calbear Road. As you can see down the list, we have the county, the McCutcheon Pedestrian Safety Project. This has actually been going on for a while now. They have completed the engineering and are in the right-of-way phase. This actually will provide improvements such as sidewalks, trail, and safe crossings of both old US 231 across from McCutcheon High School and on County Road 500 South for the elementary school. There have been a number of students that have been unfortunately involved in accidents. So this project will provide a safe means to walk to the schools and then cross the roads. The city of Lafayette, this is a new project. South 9th Street, they're actually in the preliminary engineering. And as you can see here, looking down the list, we have North 9th Street Trail. This is a new West County project, and then Cherry Lane Extension, a new West Lafayette project. For safety funds, a couple things here. Of course, the only one we really have programmed is the McCutcheon area project. And then also we show a trade with another MPO. In terms of using our federal funds, when we receive our allocation each year, we are allowed to only use those funds for that fiscal year. We cannot carry over the funds to the next fiscal year or use funds from a future fiscal year. Because we have projects that are more than what we receive, we also do some horse trading with other MPOs so we can actually advance our projects and fully fund them. The trade with the NERC MPO and 2022-2024 funds is for the North River Road and County Road 500 North project. This project was just let this past January, so we'll actually see construction here coming very soon this year. Something that we do that I'm not too sure other MPOs do, but we've done this since our 2014 tip, is that we look at our long-range transportation plan and look at the InDOT projects. And there's a lot of course, large projects that we feel that are important that are controlled, routes controlled by InDOT. And we put this list together as basically indication to them that we feel as a community these projects are important. One here we have US 231. This would be the continuation of it from US 52 to the interstate and then to 43. The good news is that a study is just underway to look at the next section from 52 to the interstate. We have widening I-65 both north and south of the current improvements that were just recently done and are under construction, widen it to 6 lanes. I have some good news that I'll mention about that in a bit. Special 52, which is kind of maybe a head scratcher. US 52 from the US 52 231 intersection all the way to the bridge over the Wabash River, Sagamore Parkway, is actually still under state control. They own and maintain and operate it. So it's called Special 52, but locally we know it as Sagamore Parkway. Back in 2011, we finished it up in February. There's a joint study between locals and InDOT as how this section of road should be improved. We feel that those improvements are still needed. And then another one, State Road 38. This is pretty new, but we've continually asked for this for a while. If anybody is driven on State Road 38, they'll know on each side that there are cow paths of just bare land, and there are a lot of pedestrians that walk on both sides of the road. A while back, the city of Lafayette constructed a small segment of actually sidewalk using our federal funds to help improve the situation. But the section, especially between Sagamore Parkway and Creasy Lane, needs sidewalks on both sides. So again, we think that's a high priority for the community to see this project, and we hope that sometime in the near future that InDOT will advance this and we will see this project. I won't show you the complete lists of the projects. I have 2 maps here of local projects, and the one on the left is the one that which federal funds and local funds are allocated to. The one on the right are projects which we would like to do, but we don't have enough funding to do. As you can see on the left, there are a lot of local projects. We also have here, I wonder if my cursor is showing, Project 1, South 9th Street, Project 2, Park East Boulevard. This is the last section of Park East between McCarty Lane and Haggerty. The city Lafayette does plan on building or constructing this missing segment. We do have West Lafayette projects. We do have Tippecanoe projects. We have a lot of bridge projects that are scattered throughout the county. And then we also have projects for City Bus and then the Purdue Airport. For City Bus, we have a number of projects that involve providing or using our federal funds to operate the system, to maintain the buses, maintain the facilities, purchase replacement buses for just kind of a give you an idea. City Bus has been moving their fleet towards compressed natural gas, and approximately 40% of the fleet is CNG. They would like to add more city or more CNG buses as they pull out the old ones that are diesel or hybrid. And they have a plan to do that. They are also going to be using federal funds to expand the CNG facility. As they do replace these buses, they will need more capacity to refuel them. So we do have a long list of city bus projects. Now, looking at the wish list of projects, the big one that news I have announced is the little blue line that's labeled 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is improving North 9th Street, basically from Lafayette to just past Burnett Road. We just received news, I think it was last week, that federal funds, different federal funds that we are involved in, was approved or awarded to the county to make some of these improvements, including a new bridge deck on the road, constructing a sidewalk, not a trail, but a sidewalk to basically allow walkers and cyclists to bypass the old bridge that is currently used, and then also to rehabilitate the road south of the bridge and basically north of the bridge. Project 3 is constructing a trail from basically the Lafayette system up to the community corrections facility, and I'm kind of waiting to hear from the county highway engineer of the federal funding they did receive. What can they actually do? So once I hear that, though, that specific project will actually move over to the map and table shown on the left. Now we do also include, as I mentioned, InDOT projects. These lists are project or maps show the projects that were given to us basically late last year. I do anticipate that there will be some changes. We'll probably receive those in the near future, and when we do, we will incorporate these changes to the document. Several of the projects I would like to point out. If you look on the north side of the county, project number 38, this is a plant and shrub windscreen break. I know if you travel I-65 during the winter, especially in snowstorms, a lot of blowing snow occurs across the interstate, and this project will include planting shrubs and trees and plants to basically block the snow from blowing over the interstate. You see a lot of numbers there on I-65. Good news is that it appears that InDOT will be moving the next widening project forward and widening the interstate to 6 lanes, basically north of County Road 725 North. If you look on the east side of the county on State Road 38, project number 10, this is basically rehabilitating the road, so it's a fairly big project. Looking on the south of the county, project number 29, they're looking at installing some passing lanes at various locations to allow slow traffic to move to the side. And then one more thing I'd like to mention on US 52 on the southeast part, projects 22 and 28, those are adding auxiliary lanes at various intersections, whether they be left turn lanes or right turn lanes, basically to improve the safety at these intersections. And again, on figure 4, the location of unfunded recommended projects, those are the projects that we recommend. So basically, that in a nutshell is the Transportation Improvement Program. Kind of a quick thumbnail sketch. Again, right now we are in the public comment phase and question phase, and we hope to start the adoption process next month at the Technical Transportation Committee meeting. So if you have any comments or questions that you think of tomorrow, in the next week or two, please feel free to pass those along. And then again, we're looking at starting the adoption process in April. So that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Doug. At this time, we're going to open the floor for questions. I think probably the best way to approach this is to see if we have any questions or comments from anyone online on the streams first. And then after we get through all of those, if there are any, then we'll open it up for those committee members who are in the virtual meeting. So Aria, do we have any comments from our online platforms?
At this time, we don't, but the stream is delayed a bit, so it might be good to wait and see if any show up.
Okay, well, we will go ahead then and open it up to the committee, and then after the committee is done, we will check back with the public comment on the stream. So if anyone from the committee has any questions, please feel free to ask Doug at this time.
Hey, Doug, this is Steve Clevenger.
Hello,
At the
Steve.
beginning of your presentation, you had some benchmarks like fatalities and injuries.
Yes.
Is that like 800 and some fatalities, and I don't remember the injuries? What time frame is that over?
That is for a year. And that is just not for Tippecanoe County, but that is for the state.
That is for the whole state. Okay, that
Correct. I mean,
that
yeah, our goal, especially for safety is we want to reduce without any doubt the fatalities, serious injuries, especially with motorists, but also for persons who are walking or cycling. That's one of the main things we do look at.
Thanks,
Doug,
Doug.
would you go back to that screen so people can take another look at that?
Oh, sure. Oh, I believe that is it. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Steve, this is Sally. Just to add a little bit of information, the safety performance measure, MPOs in the state can either adopt and then support through their own projects ways to reduce fatalities, rate of fatalities, serious injuries, etc. Or we can develop our own criteria. But developing our own criteria is rigorous enough that MPOs in Indiana have universally elected to support the state safety data and projects to make sure that the state can meet its safety performance measures. So we are not developing our own safety performance measures, but supporting the state.
Okay. Thanks.
And maybe Roy or Jay, Roy Nunnally or Jay Mitchell can comment on this as well. But what happens is there were 2018 performance measures, and Federal Highway reviews those. And I think it was about this time last year that Federal Highway indicated that the state for fiscal year 2018 met 4 of the 5 performance measures, which is, well, you don't have to meet all of them to maintain your funding, but you do have to meet, I think, at least 4 of the 5. So Indiana did that for 2018, and very shortly we should get the information about whether the 2019 performance measures were met for the state.
And that is correct. So the targets were set and online in 2018, and every 2 years we monitor every year, but every 2 years we are allowed to adjust those targets if things are not trending well for us. But for Indiana, things are trending well. Always with everyone, our goal is towards Vision Zero. But we have set targets for that, and it's adjusted, in the mid-year. So we have these are like 4-year targets, and in a 2-year we can adjust it. And we do work with the MPOs, so they have input into our state performance targets as well.
I'd also like to say I'm glad the US 231 extension, north 52 is still on the table.
Steve, we'll probably start hearing some more information that I suspect, or at least on the study, in maybe a couple months. We're still at the very early stages of it right now, but it'll be a joint study. We're part of the participation, or part of the participants, as well as InDOT. As a matter of fact, we did give about $100,000, if I remember correctly, in our federal funds for this study, and that was last year federal funding. So we felt it was fairly important to start looking at the next step and extending it to the interstate.
And this will be a PEL, which is a planning and environmental linkage type of study. And that's just a process that is used so that none of these early activities and studies and analysis won't go to waste. That ties in into future developments of that corridor or strategy. So we are using the PEL process. This is one of the ones that we're trying to use this PEL process for the first time, not first time in Indiana, but in our group, this is our first time, using it that way. But the intent is to do it right the first time so that if funds are approved, that it can move forward without any issues, later down the line.
Sounds good.
Just to hop in real quick on that, one reason why what we're talking about with this PEL is so important is that oftentimes with some of these bigger projects, it takes a while to get everything sorted out. So using the PEL process, that can ensure that we don't have to go back and repeat work that has been done previously. So that's why what Roy's talking about is so important, is because some of these projects can have a very uncertain and very long timeline.
As we know with the previous 231 project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if the board doesn't have any other comments, we do have some public comments here. Did anyone else have anything from the board here? Sounds like a no. All right, so our first public comment is Jason Grant Paget, who says, with all the collaborative efforts, this county is invested in promoting recovery and resilience opportunities for individuals struggling with mental health and/or substance issues. Is City Bus considering creating a bus route that transports individuals to and from Tippecanoe County Community Corrections? Many of these individuals end up in the justice system and find it very difficult to obtain gainful employment, as well as counseling and recovery support where there is no public transportation available to them from TCCC.
Greetings, Jason. I'll respond to that. The answer is yes. If you look in the document itself, I know it's buried in there, but we do have a specific section that looks at City Bus and their financial capacity, and it lists all of the individual projects that will be occurring for the next 5 years. And one project that they are looking to implement sometime this year is providing service to not only the community correction facility, but actually to the Wabash Avenue area. When that service will start, how often will it occur? I do not have that specific information, but they are or will be providing that service.
Okay, we have another public comment from Jeremy Slater, who says, just curious, has COVID had any impacts on federal appropriations or in the future?
That's a good question. As far as what I've seen or what we have been told is that not only with this up and coming fiscal year, but in the future fiscal years, we are to basically use our current federal funding targets for each fiscal year. I suspect there will be changes each year, and when they do occur, we will look at either that year or the up and coming fiscal year and make adjustments. We have done that in the past. Some of the changes have been fairly small. Some have been a little larger, but we do or when we do receive updated financial information, we do look at that. I suspect we may make some changes or have to in the future, but as for right now, with this document, we are directed to use the current financial estimate of federal funds for the next 4 fiscal years.
Okay. I do not see any more public comments at this time. So that's it for now.
Okay, then we'll do just a very last call for any further questions from the committee. Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much, Doug, for your presentation on this, as well as your Q&A. And at this time, we will go ahead and turn things over to our partners at InDOT. So I believe Roy Nunnally will be presenting about the STIP. So Roy, we're going to go ahead and get the screen share switched over to you if you have a PowerPoint.
Yes.
And then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and begin.
All right. Let me see here. Let me start. And all right. Hopefully you are able to see my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it, Roy.
All right, great. So I'm Roy Nunnally with the Indiana Department of Transportation planning team. And I'm going to talk to you about our state transportation improvement program that we are currently moving and updating to a 2022 to 2026 document. Let's see if it, there it goes. So I didn't know how much detail to put into these slides, and so I did caution and decided that, you know, I'm not going to put a whole lot of details in there because I know the focus is really the tip, and then our job is kind of showcase how the STIP, what the STIP is, and how it fits in with the tip. So the STIP, similar to the tip, is a 5-year document. With our 5th year for us, InDOT is considered to be illustrative to federal highway, but it's a list of federally required planning and construction programs. So it lists all projects and project phases expected to be funded within 5 years using federal funds. We do have some state-funded projects that either are deemed regionally significant, so we do include that into our document. We always try to say that that our STIP document is a programming document that identifies funding and schedules, but it's not an accounting or budgeting document. So a lot of times things may not line up exactly with the MPOs as far as numbers, or it might not line up exactly with everything that's ongoing. So and that's not a problem. As long as we're within our budget range, we should be fine. Our document does include all state and local transportation projects funded with, again, federal highway, federal dollars, and 100% state-funded projects, including like, you know, passenger rail, freight, public transit, bicycle and pedestrian type projects. So why is this important? Well, the STIP is a staged, multi-year statewide intermodal document. You know, and it must be developed in cooperation with the MPO. So they're at the front table. Doug talked about we've been coordinating, and they kind of started their tip process in October of last year. We were right along with them, creating our document and talking about a few items. So, but it's developed in cooperation with the MPOs, the public transit operators, and our regional planning organizations across the state. And our STIP must be compatible with the NPO TIP for their metropolitan area. So similar to what's in your TIP, projects that are included in our STIP are, added travel lanes, reconstruction projects, bike, pedestrian, and operational improvements. And we consider operational improvements to be intersection improvements, interchange modifications, modernized traffic signals, and ITS, and also kind of complete streets type improvements. Safety improvements, Doug mentioned a number of safety targets and safety activities. The same for us, where we're also looking at, again, complete streets like pedestrian amenities, crosswalks, bike lanes, ramps, and things of that nature. Our guardrails, railroad crossings, and also, rock and slide corrections. Transit, again, is also included in our document, but only at the level of transit operations and vehicle purchasing using federal funds. Also in our STIP is also a number of bridge improvements, from new bridges, bridge rehabs, and various maintenance activities, from inspections to bridge painting, debris and removal, including small culverts and small structures, and in some cases, pipe and pipelines. So how our document is developed, we have both a decentralized and centralized programming process. So we have 6 districts across the state, and they have their individual process, but they are accountable for their area. And so a lot of times we're meeting with the district, with the NPOs and the rural planning organizations at the district and some of our stakeholders to look at what are some of the needs within the short term, within the 4 to 5, and also 7-year time frame. The districts, they are responsible for initiating the annual call for projects. So each of the districts, they select projects through an agency-wide process, and our process includes an asset management team. And as you see on the right of the screen, we got 4 asset teams, from bridges to roadway assets, and that's basically pavement and slide correction and things like that. Mobility assets teams, which is more operations, turning lanes and improving the flow and operation of a facility, added travel lanes, ITS, those type of activities. And then the safety asset teams, which can be a kind of a cross of safety improvements and also some mobility improvements that improve safety as well. During these meetings, we have, in some cases, we have regional meetings that we're now setting up to occur during the late spring and early summer months, right before the call is open, to meet with NPOs and RPOs and stakeholders about what the needs are, and to look at what projects we have online, to ask questions now. What are some of the future needs? So we do have those discussions. And then, once we have these meetings and everything goes through our 4 asset teams, and the asset teams, each asset team is made up of representatives from each of the districts, their assessment engineers, their technical service directors, as well as individuals from planning and other groups that may have interest in the decision making. The program management group that you see in the middle, they are a body of directors that is responsible for ensuring that we are meeting our needs as far as performance targets, meeting the agency's goals. They coordinate with the executives at InDOT for any funding issues or funding needs. So that's where that group comes in. So we move into all this, and then the STIP is approved by the Federal Highway and FTA. Our STIP is similar to the NPO's TIP, is developed on a 2-year cycle, and it's amended monthly. Here's another slide that kind of show you how, we kind of do the STIP development. So, so we have a draft list of proposed projects that Doug Poe had mentioned. They were kind of going back and forth with the list of projects. And so we do coordinate with them early in November timeframe-ish. And it is pretty iterative, as Doug had noted that, there's some projects that they want us to change. So we go back and forth with that, and then eventually, kind of in the February-March timeframe, we actually provide a constraint list of projects that will actually go into the STIP document. Throughout the process, there's lots of coordination. So there's early coordination between the TIPs and STIPs, and with the projects, the verbiage, the targets, all that is discussed during this time frame. And you'll see some overlapping functions. Right now, we're at this stage where we're finalizing our STIP verbiage, looking at some of the targets, the funding targets, and the performance targets as well. We're not adjusting our performance targets, the national or state performance targets, our performance measures, but for the funding. So we're putting that together. There'll likely be some revisions to the listing. At that stage, once we get that down packed, then there's the 45-day comment period, which we hope to start by the 25th of this month. We want to have the document online to start the 45-day comment period. Once the 45-day comment period is over, then we will get the comments, process the comments, make revisions to the document, finalize the document, get a finalized draft, and from that stage, we forward that to our federal partners for their review, their input, and hopefully, knock on wood, approval. But during this process, it's continuous coordination with our NPO partners. We also have the STIP. We also have other plans that drive our STIP. And so we have multimodal plans. We have our 20+ year long-range comprehensive plan, which is not project specific. We also have the governor's Next Level Indiana program, Next Level Roads program, which is a 20-year program. And so, that one is a multi-billion-dollar, I think it was $60 billion over a 20-year period of funding. So they identify within like the 20-year period where that's going to go to. I'm trying to find my mutes. Oh, it's covered up with this thing here. So with that, it's a 20-year plan that started back in 2018 to fund roads and bridges. The plan outlines approximately $60 billion in total investments in Indiana highways. And we're one of the first states, one of the few states that have this level of plan for 20 years with that's actually funded. So we have funds identified for it. So that's a plus for us. But also there's $342 million over by 2024 that will be going to local cities, towns, and counties to benefit their local system. On the right, you see our Next Level Roads system, online system, our interactive maps. And often, we try to have a separate STIP map, but it's a little confusing because in our STIP map, it has some projects in there that are federally funded and not all the state projects. So there's projects missing. So the best way, if you really want to figure out what's going on in your area, is to go to this Next Level Roads. You just type in Indiana Next Level Roads, and it'll take you to a site where you get access to this interactive map. And you can display information by district, by active or future statuses, by program. So we have the bridge program, safety, local, mobility. Then you can also, if there's community crossing projects in your area, you can take a look at that. Each one of these little dots you can click on and get more information. It does drill down a little bit, give you more information about what type of project, cost, and all the information. So check it out. As far as funding for our plan, so we have anywhere between 3.2 billion to 2.8 billion that we're spending annually each year. And so, like Doug was saying, our fiscal year is it starts July through June each year. But how we're looking at this is that we look at all of the state federal funds. So we have about $1.5 million of state funds in fiscal year 22, or not federal funds in fiscal year 22, plus about 25 million in FTA funds. That's pretty consistent for the 4 years, as well as you see it's 1.5 in fiscal year 22, then it drops down to about $1.9 billion on $1.90 billion on the rest of the fiscal years. Then we look at projects that are state funded in our documents, and so we have anywhere between 1.6 billion to 1.5 billion dollars that are programmed each year for state funds. Then we look at local highway funds as well, and then that's our total. So about $3.2 billion for fiscal year 22, and then you have some where it's decreasing just a little bit in the remaining fiscal years. So we're here to make sure that we get the word out about our STIP and to get people involved early. And so we encourage people to get involved in the discussions early, frequently, and strategically. So given this is the MPO meeting, and there might be some that are online that may be outside the MPO, but if you're in an MPO, work through your MPOs. We partner heavily with our MPO, and so again, I mentioned that we have early coordination meetings where back in May through July, that we would talk about projects, needs, and things like that. But the MPOs also meet with the district throughout the year. InDOT staffers also participate in MPO technical committee meetings, so there's opportunities there to talk about projects and needs that can get through our process. There's also opportunities for you to review the document on our website that's listed below here. Once we post it online, hopefully by March 25th, we have a 45-day comment period for full updates every 2 years, and then we update the document monthly, and usually that's a 7-day comment period. But all this is online at this location that you see at the bottom. For this year, we're also doing, because of COVID, we're not doing any physical meetings at the district, but we will have virtual town hall formatted meetings. We got 4 that we are scheduling on April 9th, April 15th, April 16th, and April 19th. We don't have the time just yet. We're working on that. Hopefully by next week, we'll have that nailed down, but keep that on your schedule if you want to participate. The meetings will be recorded so that that people can have access to it at any point, any time during the comment periods. Presentation and materials from these meetings will also be made available online. We're also partnering with the state library to cascade notifications and also the links to all these where the sites are, recorded meetings and things like that. And they're going to cascade that to over the 263, 65-ish libraries locally. And lastly, you can mail your comments as well, so that you got the information here. If you do go to the website at the bottom below here, you'll get that same information as well as a online comment form. And we do process those comments. So as we get them, we process them to to address each comment. And that gets posted at the back of our STIP document in our appendices. So everyone can see what comments that were received and how we responded to them. So with that, I thank you, and I'm open to any questions. Sorry, I kind of extended my my meeting a little longer than I did when I practiced it.
No worries, Roy. That's totally okay. So I think for the questions, we can probably follow the same format as we did for the tip questions, where we're going to go ahead and start with the committee, and then that will give our online folks any chance to catch up with the stream delay. So if anyone from the committee has any questions at this time, please.
Hey, Roy, this is Amy. I've got a quick question.
Yep.
I'm just curious how much the public input meetings influence priority rankings on the projects, and how much of that is just sort of it's already priorities already figured out as like a formulaic process.
So the public, through the MPO at this stage, a lot of the meetings that we have, Amy, we're meeting with our MPOs to get that information. And so the MPOs, based on the input that they receive, they can comment and in these coordinated meetings that can drive some of the changes. As far as priorities, honestly, I don't have an answer as to the priorities. I know we use a scoring system. We do provide that online. But how that impacts from the actual public meetings, how that impacts the priorities, I don't have a whole lot of information on that. I got Jay Mitchell online. I'm not sure if Jay would have anything different to add.
Thank you, Roy. I would say yes. Public input matters. It may not seem like it when you make a comment or complaint in most cases, but those are logged, they're cataloged, and then they're stored. And then when they accumulate, when we start to look at projects, we go back to see what kind of comments we've received from the public. Are there any? And if there are some, what are they and how many might there be as well? And that can have an impact as to how the project is approached and how it might advance in that case. So anytime someone makes a comment, we have a system called InDOT for You. That's a very good system to use. It's an online system. They are cataloged. We do provide an answer when we can. And then also they are cataloged. For instance, the Crawfordsville district, when the call comes for projects, there are 4 asset management groups. They will have their listing of needs that they think should be projects, and then they will prepare a report and a scoring system for that as well. And they'll also check the files, and they probably already know about it because they hear the comments from the public and log them as well. They'll check to see what kind of comments we're getting. Is this a need? Yes, it's backed up by the public. There is definitely a need here. Or we think we have a need here, but we're not seeing anything from the public, so maybe they're not seeing it the same way we are at this point or not. But yes, they do add up, and their opinion matters. It just sometimes it doesn't seem that way because you make a comment and then you don't hear anything back. But the accumulation of those comments can then add up to eventually a project that will deal with the problem that's been identified. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks.
Jay,
Thanks,
this is Sally. Would it be fair to say that public comment about the projects that are generated at the district for our area are probably more influenced than the projects generated by the governor's next level program?
Well, that sounds like a loaded question, Sally.
Well, I'm not intending it to be. I'm just thinking that what the governor is saying is important. Is probably
the governor's program is based on input from InDOT, and also input that he probably receives from citizens as well. But any comments he receives from citizens is usually passed on to us. We keep those comments on record as well. So both ways do add up to advancing a project or a need into a project. So again, when the governor is starting to prepare his program, he always consults with InDOT, and then we dig down and talk to the individuals in the districts to see what they might have that might be able to go in that program. We pass along to the governor when they do that, and then that's something that is created at a higher level in InDOT with the governor's guidance. I hope that answers. I hope so.
I can give Amy an example of where locally citizen comment stopped a project. And I can't even tell you exactly what year this was, but it was probably in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. InDOT had a project to improve Teal Road because it was State Road 25 at the time. But there was so much opposition, especially at the western end of, just west of the fairgrounds and down the hill to the intersection at the bottom of the hill, that InDOT decided not to do that project, specifically because there was so much local opposition. It's why Teal Road, ended up deteriorating because people didn't want that project. And now, fortunately, we have a lot of support for that project, and we should see the beginnings of reconstruction of Teal Road, hopefully maybe late summer. We're waiting now for all the utilities to be moved, but it is the reason, specifically the reason why that project took so long is because there was so much local opposition.
Thanks, Sally.
Any other questions?
Anything else from the board here? So in terms of public comments, I still do not see any public comments on either Facebook nor YouTube at this time.
Okay, well, I think then we've given everyone a fair shake to get comments and questions into InDOT. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and thank Roy and Jay for joining us tonight. Thank you both. We really appreciate you guys kind of giving us the opportunity to get a peek into how things work at the state. I hope that was helpful, not only for the committee, but for anyone joining us on our streams and anyone who is watching the recorded version of this presentation in the future. So thank you both.
Thank you, Tim. And it lets you know that Lafayette was the first to ask InDOT to do a STIP presentation at a TIP. So that's, now you guys have set the tone and we're getting more requests in. So thank you. And I mean that sincerely, thank you, because that helps us quite a bit.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, and we're very happy to partner with you. It's pretty beneficial for us as well. So the feeling's mutual, Roy. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is the hire of a new executive director. So for more than 47 years, we have been very fortunate to have Sally Fahey working for us here at the Area Plan Commission. As she often says, she's held almost every job in the office, most recently, of course, being our executive director. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and she is retiring. I guess technically she has retired, although right now we are in kind of a transition period where she is training our new executive director, David Hiddle. We're very excited to have David. He just started at the beginning of March, and we know that he is going to be able to build on some of the good work that Sally has done, and that for the community, things are going to keep going the way they have, and they're going to continue to improve. So David is with us here tonight at the meeting. So David, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'll be very brief. I'm sure a lot of us can smell food in the background calling, waiting for us. I'm really enthused and honored to be here. It's a little bit daunting to try to occupy Sally's office after all the work that she's done, but she's doing a great job, as is the staff, to help me get acclimated. I'll throw a comment about following up on Amy's question about the efficacy of public comments for InDOT related projects. Right now I'm in downtown Indianapolis in the house I'm about to move from to come up to Tippecanoe County, and InDOT has initiated a project for the reconstruction of Interstate 65 and 70 where they meet downtown. And the initial plan was met with a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth by neighbors and businesses who formed a group called Rethink 65. And InDOT really responded to those comments. It was an organized and very grassroots level effort that was put forth, very much citizen driven. And InDOT really took it to heart and sat at the table and went through a really long and kind of rigorous session of conversations with the neighbors and made a bunch of changes. Now, I don't know that if a single guy, sees one thing he doesn't like and makes a comment, that's going to have a whole lot of viability down the road. But where there is, where two or more are gathered and there's a concern and it's presented as a legitimate concern, and my experience is that InDOT has been responsive to those things. So I got a little bit off track there, but yeah, I'm really happy to be coming on board and look forward to being there a good long time.
All right, thank you very much, David. So at this time, we're going to move on to the next item in the agenda, which is kind of a general questions, comments, and suggestions period. So is there anything from the committee that you guys feel that we've missed in our discussion tonight? And if so, the floor is open and now is your chance.
I guess I just have one really quick thing. Minutes for the December meeting will be available at our next CPC meeting. So for those of you looking for minutes, we'll have the text minutes available next time, but the videos are available on YouTube and Facebook if you want to watch the old meetings.
This is Steve Clevenger, and I just wanted to thank Sally for her work that she's put in over the years, and welcome David.
Thank you, Steve. It's always been a pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.
Sally, you will be missed. Definitely, I appreciate all the mentoring you've done and, keeping me on track with things. And what definitely will be missed here at InDOT, at least with me and my team. So, I appreciate your years of service and all that you've done. But I've learned quite a bit from you. You've been patient with me. Sometimes my biggest cheerleader at stages. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Roy. Thank you for the kind words. I'm not sure they're completely true, but I think the education has gone both directions. So it's appreciated the other direction too.
This is Steve again. I just wanted to thank the Roy and Jay from the state for taking their time to present to us, and for Tim and staff for working with them to invite them.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, at this time, I think we're going to go ahead and check for any comments on the stream that are lingering. Aria, are there any comments that the stream has put forth?
Yeah, so neither Facebook nor YouTube have any comments at this time.
Okay, then just to accommodate for the delay in the stream, we're going to go ahead and have a 1 minute time frame where we wait, and then if we hear nothing, we will consider this closed. So I have a timer started. All right, that should cover our minute. Aria, have any comments come in?
On Facebook and YouTube, I do not see any more public comments.
Okay, well, in that case, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting without any further objections. Okay, I'm not hearing any objections to adjournment. So as a last matter of business, our next meeting will be on June 9th, same time, 6 p.m. We will also meet on September 8th and December 8th this year. So thank you everyone for attending. Have a great night, and we look forward to talking to you in June.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Right, thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.